What's up, guys? Welcome to Man About Cake. I'm your host, Joshua John Russell, and today this man is about edible lace. Now, this is a trend that's been around for a while and it's still going strong. I know some of you are probably frustrated with edible lace, but today I'm gonna simplify it for you and teach you how to make it right. Let's do it. All right, so now we're gonna talk a little bit about edible lace. And I know what you're probably thinking, you've been making this before and just went like that. You won't do that after this. So there's a lot of products on the market. This is the one that I found that is the easiest one to use. It's called Magic Decor. It's actually a pretty fun name. You know, when I travel with this stuff, I put a little container in my suitcase and I start to label it Magic Decor and I think, you know, white powder in the suitcase called Magic Decor, probably a red flag. So it's actually a powder that you have to hydrate. So if you're doing a bigger batch, you could do this in a mixer, but I just wanted to show you guys that it's really easy just to mix up by hand. So I'm just gonna stir it until it's completely hydrated. I'm trying to use the tiniest tool ever to stir this stuff up. So it's gonna come out to a consistency of kind of like a medium royal icing. That's how you know it's ready to go. And we're gonna add a little bit, like I said, a little bit of black gel color because we just want to get a gray color. A couple drops, we'll stir that guy up. So just like kneading fondant, you wanna make sure that you incorporate this fully and you don't see any more white streaks. All right, so I got a pretty nice gray color there that I'm gonna take, once it's dry, to a darker color with an airbrush. But we're gonna stop here and make our lace with this color. So this is one of the mats that I chose. It's one of my favorite, very lacy. So I'm just gonna use my offset spatula, spread it around, make sure you cover the whole design. Then we'll take all the excess off. So I'm just using this plastic scraper. I'm just gonna start at the top of the design, a little bit of pressure, and then pull across. So now you can see that the Magic Decor has completely covered the design. And then the same thing on this side. Let's talk about curing the lace now that it's in the mold. So there's two different ways you can do this. You can do it in your oven. My favorite way to cure it is just at room temperature. So I'm just going to put this on a sheet pan, and we're gonna put it on a rack, give it a few hours, let it cure. So this cake is gonna be 5 tiers. I'm gonna start by filling the 8-inch round. It's gonna be a vanilla cake, and I'm gonna fill it with chocolate buttercream. Now, I know that doesn't seem very traditional for a wedding cake, but this wedding cake is kind of for no one. So it's my wedding cake, and I'm gonna do chocolate. I think more and more people are getting adventurous with wedding cake flavors, which I love. You know, I feel like a lot of brides will think that your grandma's gonna be at the wedding, so you really need to do the traditional white wedding cake. I want a white cake with a white frosting. I say if you want a purple cake filled with chicken nuggets, go for it. All right, now we're gonna fill our layers with the chocolate buttercream. Once I got it all smoothed out, add the next layer. Chocolate wedding cake. He's special, look at him. And then we're just gonna trim down the sides, just taking off this caramelization, and then we're gonna crumb coat it. So we filled the cake with chocolate buttercream, but because the cake is gonna be a white fondant cake, I'm gonna actually crumb coat it and final coat it with white buttercream. Because we do all this work, you put your fondant on very thin, you're gonna see the chocolate through it. And then she'll go back in the cooler. So now that our crumb coat is finally chilled, we're gonna do our final coat. So I'm gonna use the same white buttercream. Let's give it a scrape and see if we need to fill in any of the gaps. So I'm just gonna go across the top, taking off this edge. So try to get it as smooth as possible. After this, I'm gonna put it back in the cooler, let it completely firm up. Then I can take my scraper and sort of cut through this and make this perfectly smooth. But the sides look good, so I'm gonna stop here. We're gonna get it in the cooler. Okay, now the lace is cured at room temperature. We're gonna pull it out of the mat. There's a special way that we need to do this though, because I don't wanna actually rip the product out of the mat. I wanna rip the mat away from the product. So we're gonna turn it over, and we're gonna use our little scraper we use to just gently pull this first little part out, and then we'll hold the lace down and pull the mat away from the actual lace. Lace out. Cool, right? It actually feels like you could just sew this right onto like a garment, but you can eat it. So now we're gonna cover the cake in white fondant. I have about 2 pounds of white fondant here, and we're gonna roll it out to 1/8 of an inch thickness. All right, now that the fondant's all rolled out, we're gonna flip it over the cake. Just use my arm, drag the cake in. The first thing I'm gonna do is actually get the air bubbles out of the top here. So I'll lift up a little bit, push all the air out, If your hands are warm like mine, use a little bit of cornstarch or powdered sugar. Keep it from sticking. So I'm just gonna work my way around, straightening out the wrinkles and then pushing the fondant down. All right, now I'm gonna take my fondant smoothers and get all of my imperfections out. Right, and we'll just take an X-Acto knife and cut away the excess. So now we're ready to put our lace on the cake. I airbrushed my lace and I let it sit for a few minutes to absorb the color. Now, by the way, the color we had before was perfectly fine. So if you don't want to airbrush it and make it a little bit darker, you can just use the color that we had before. So I'm going to put this on with piping gel. You could use gum glue here as well, or even a little bit of water. So now we're going to pick our lace up and apply it to the cake. Let's bring it all the way down to the bottom here. Let it rest against the cake. And you want to stick it at each end. There may be some little parts that don't want to stick. All you need to do is just take a little piping gel, hit it on the back, and then it will adhere. So now I can put piping gel on the back of this, and I could butt it up right against my other piece, and it'll look continuous all the way around the cake. Okay, so for a little bit of a color pop in the middle of the cake, I'm gonna make a small bow. Just take the paste all the way out until it won't roll anymore. I'm gonna cut a rectangular shape. We're gonna pull everything into the middle, add a little bit of piping gel. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Now then we'll just gather all of this up. I'm gonna take a little piece that I cut off and we'll just wrap it around the middle. And then I'm gonna leave this guy to dry while I stack my cake. So I've stacked my cake up to the 8-inch tier. Now I'm gonna show you how I did it with bubble tea straws. Now you see a straw and you think that's so flimsy, but actually it goes down, it encapsulates the cake, and then you have support all the way around rather than just a dowel that could slip to the side and then possibly have an issue later. So 2 across from each other this way, and then 2 across from each other this way, and then we'll split the difference. Ha! Production word. No? Okay. Did I use that word properly?
Oh, it's not a real production word, it's just something we always say.
Oh, that's not a production word, split the difference? No one ever says split the difference in my world.
We do say it a lot.
Well, aren't we on a production set right now?
Yes.
It's a production word. By the way, these bubble tea straws are super easy to find at Asian markets, but they're also available online all over the place, and they're very cheap. First time I ever used bubble tea straws, I was scared to death. So I used half bubble tea straws and half dowels. So if you're doubting the bubble tea straws, use the combination of the two. But I promise you, after a while, you'll only use the straws.
I feel like this is a commercial for bubble tea straws.
Maybe it is. Freeze frame. Whoa, that one went flying. A little bit of royal icing. All right, now that our cake is completely stacked, I'm gonna finish each tier with a border of bling ribbon. You can actually now buy bling ribbon at most cake supply stores. Other than that, you can find it at some floral shops as well. I used to hate this stuff, to be honest. I don't really love putting non-edible things on a cake, but I did a wedding cake for a very high-profile person, and she wanted lots of Swarovski crystals all over her cake, and she was paying a lot of money for it, so I did it. And actually, after I was done, I was like, that was kind of a cool cake. So now I think, you know, just borders here and there. I don't know, I'm from the South, my favorite color is shiny, so why not? So now it's time to finish the cake with our color pop. I had a band of gum paste in the same color as our bow. Popped in the fridge for just a minute so it firmed up. Then we're gonna put that around the middle tier. We'll add the bow. She'll be ready to go. So I'm just painting a thin line of piping gel right in the middle where my bow is going to live. I'm just trying to get it as straight as possible. All right, I'm just gonna make a couple little tails. Gonna put a little bit of piping gel and fold and stick this guy on. And the second one we'll do the same way. Now we're gonna add the bow. There she is, my lace cake, and I love her. Thank you for joining me on Man About Cake. If you want any of the recipes you saw today, you can click the eye in the corner or get them from the link in the description box below. Please leave your comments, like the video, and please subscribe because I'm gonna bring you a new cake every week. Let's eat. My wedding cake never tastes so good.